Okay. You can type in, you can solve the equation and find the optimal quantities, or you can type in arbitrary quantities here, because profit is revenue minus cost. I think we all understand that. Okay. And so, but if you solve the equation first, the equation of profit, you will be able to at least have an idea what the quantities you're looking for would look like. And then you plot a graph. Or you can put in arbitrary numbers on a graph and then, solve and try and see where you're going, and then you can change your numbers. All I'm trying to do here is to illustrate to you what you needed to do, okay? And we may or may not solve the problem. We may or may not find the optimal quantities that you are looking for, okay? But at least it gives you an idea of what you're supposed to be doing. Now, ordinarily, the quadratic equation gives rise to zero values, where you find the quantity, or where Q is, where the revenue or cost is going to be zero. But ordinarily, cost will not be zero because there's a fixed cost here of 21,000. But let us start with some numbers, okay? I'm going to start with, say, a Q of say 10. Okay, I'm going to start with 10. I'm going to go 11. I'm going to go with 12. Okay. So we'll just pull this down to 28. This is what you were supposed to do, but it would have been it would be easier for you if you know how to solve the quadratic equation. Okay. All right. The revenue is defined by the equation minus 3q squared plus 480q. Right? Okay. And so here you go, equals, okay, minus 3 times Q is in location H, and so that is H10, okay, H10 to the power 2, okay.
Can you send me this recording thereafter? So
Yes, I will. Of course I will.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Minus 10 to the power 2, that's H10, because actually it's H4, not H10. Because when H4 to the power 2, okay, and then plus 480 times H4, okay? All right. So you see, it gives you 4,500, okay? I would really prefer to So once you do that, let me do this again, because I just want to be sure we are correct. Let's see. Okay. this is h4 to the power 2. So I'm going to that was 3 times that. All right. So that original thing was correct. And so you just drag it down. And that gives you the revenue.
Okay. Magic.
And so you calculate the cost. The cost is equals eight times H4, which is where that is, to the power 2. Okay. Minus 600 star H4 plus 21,500. Gives you that.
And then you drag down.
You drag it down. Your profit is revenue minus cost, which is F4 equals F4 minus G4. All right. Right. So you can see here you're still making losses. But you can see you started making profit. Am I correct?
Yes.
You said making
On the very
profit.
bottom.
Yeah, at the right bottom there. So you can now increase the quantity here and see how far you go with it. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So what you see here is that you're making profit all along. Now, remember that I put in arbitrary numbers there. Okay, I put in arbitrary numbers. These are not the solutions to the problem. What you need to do is you use the quadratic formula to solve for the profit function. And you get your two numbers. And so that will guide you as to what numbers you want to put up here.
Okay.
That should guide you as to what numbers you put in for Q.
So I wanted to pull up because I have.
For example, you could have started with 2. Okay. And 3. Okay. And then you go down. Right. And so what you see is begin to make profit there and just keep going. Okay. So it's better for you to solve for the quadratic functions, for the quadratic results first, and then that should guide you as to what numbers you should use. The only thing that I wanted to do was to illustrate that you can manipulate the Excel spreadsheet. You get it? And so then at the end, what you do is you produce this table, which is the table that I produced when I made the comment on your assignment.
Yeah, so 1 second, I do have a question. So So for the first question in week 6,
Yes.
I did all the work, and I have the range between the two units, but I didn't know how to implement that into Excel. Right. So I plug in these numbers.
The quantities. So essentially what you do is, given that you got 2 and 28, I think, right?
I have 28 and 70.
You have 28 and 70. Oh, so that means you could have started then, you could start this with, say, 20, all right? And say 25, all right? Or you can even say 22.
22. Keep it even. Okay.
Yeah. And then you drag it down. All right. So you can see that your break even is where you make a zero profit. Am I correct?
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
That's correct. And so what you see, as a matter of fact, you can even start 20 and then 21, 22, and you print that, and you go down and see how far you go. Okay. And so, again, you see your profit, your minimum profit comes between 27 and 28 because you make a loss here at 27, you make a profit at 28. So the first break even is at between 27 and 28. So you can use 28. As a matter of fact, you should use 28 because at 27 you don't break even. At 28 you break even. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So I'm going to go back to 22 here and take it down all the way here. It takes me to 98. And so you see, you begin to make your profit between 26 and 28. So you take 28 as your first break-even point. And then as you go, you find out that you make a profit at 70, but you begin to make a loss at 72. So your second break-even point is at 70. You get the idea. But the fact is that when you solve it with the quadratic formula, it gives you some guidance as to, so you can now take the rest of these out. And so you simply illustrate, graphically what you already solved for. All right. Now, the reason that I go through this graphic illustration is that in actuality, in practice, you want to get the information between your first break-even point and your last break-even point. If you come to look at it, it provides you also information about what quantity at which you make your maximum profit.
That is true.
At 48, you make 4996. At 50, you make 5,000. At 52, you make 4916. So your profit maximizing quantity is at 50.
Mm-hmm.
You get it? So that's why I want you to get that information. Because in practice, you get that information that way. Or you can solve it mathematically. But sometimes, I mean, when we do mathematical application at this level, I mean, we simplify things. But you wouldn't believe that the quadratic equation that enables you to, that you encounter in practice is not as simple as what we see here. Okay? There are certain quadratic equations you're not going to be able to solve. Believe me. I remember a colleague telling me that he was a mathematician. And he used to work for the Boeing aircraft company. And the reason that they let him go, according to what he told me, was that there was a certain quadratic equation he couldn't solve.
Wow.
I said, quadratic, the one that I did in 10th grade? He said, yes. And he showed me forms of the quadratic that really puzzled me.
Wow.
Okay. And it is true, because when I was a grad student doing quantitative economics, which is my specialty, I ran into problems which, when you develop them into a quadratic equation, you spend the next 15 minutes trying to solve it.
I lost a lot of time trying to solve this. I know.
So very often, what mathematicians do and what people do in practice is to use graphical solutions. It's not that they cannot solve them, but it will take a very long time. And so they use graphical solutions, and then at least they have an idea what their solutions should look like. But you can see the amount of information that you got out of this. You solved it quadratically, you found your first break-even point, and then you find a second break-even point. But you also were able to, using this graph, find the quantity that makes your profit come to a maximum. This is number one. Number two, by doing it this way, you ask yourself, why do you have two break-even points? What do they mean? Okay. What they simply mean is that 28 is the minimum that you should produce if you don't want to be running losses. If you keep going and go up to 70, and after that, you're going to start running losses. But the point is, if you have the capacity, you don't want to produce 28, and you don't want to produce 70 either. Because if you produce 70, you're going to be missing the opportunity here, which is actually, as a business person, you should be producing 50. Because that's where you make your maximum profit. You shouldn't go all the way to 70. And if the market is there, you don't want to stay at 28.
Makes sense. Okay.
You get the point. Okay. So yes. This is what you were supposed to do.
Okay. So yeah, I just did not know. See, that what I was confused was also there wasn't really any tutorial on how to work this formula into Excel. So I was just, that's why I was. Did I miss something? What did I? But
this is why I call the office hours. During the office hours, students ask questions.
But why? Now I know, because I'll be there tomorrow. Okay. But why not include this in the assignment? Like to make sure that we knew what we needed to do for those who don't make the office hours. That was just something. I'm very good at researching and finding, and following instructions. And I didn't understand. I'm sorry?
I did not understand. Why didn't I make this part of the assignment?
No, not why did you make it. Not why did you make it part of the assignment? Why didn't you, add instructions on the Excel process? Yeah. Well, that's where I was completely lost. It wasn't that I didn't solve the equation. I just didn't know how to plug it into Excel.
Okay, then, like I said, this is why the office hours. When you come to office hours, then you ask, I don't know how to plug this into Excel. Could you please illustrate it for us? And that's it. And I'll go through this process. I can do it on Blackboard Collaborate. I can illustrate it on Blackboard Collaborate. But then, if need be, I can simply go to Zoom. I can simply say, okay, let's not do Blackboard Collaborate. Let's do it in Zoom. And I'll go in Zoom and do it. But I think I can do this on Collaborate too. All I have to do is to share the screen and what I'm doing.
Right. But I understand that, and I appreciate that, and I will take advantage of that. But my only question is, let's say, again, I'm unable to make the Zoom or the collaborative.
So you ask for a session like this.
Huh?
You ask for a session like this.
Yeah. So what I mean is, along with all the reading materials and along with everything else, I'm just curious why you wouldn't, put in just some kind of instruction on how to do the project. Like, I understand that we're learning Excel as we go, but in addition to everything else that's in there, if that was just an example of how to do it, you know, that I would not have felt so lost, is what I mean.
I hear what you're saying, but the reason is that, I mean, you cannot anticipate all the range of problems that different students will encounter. And so it's difficult to like zero in on something like this. I take it that you're going through an Excel lesson, but you know, your problem also brings up essentially indicates that maybe we should, what do I call it? Modify the Excel lessons. Okay. And maybe this is the next thing that we'll do, say, next semester. You know, when it comes to this point, we kind of modify the Excel lessons on how to solve this kind of problems. When this kind of assignment is up, I could provide a lecture on what you are supposed to do, and then, you know, post it, and then students can follow it.
And I think that would help students like me who are, you know, good students.
I mean, everybody is not as proficient, and so yes,
right.
This is an indication. I can even post this.
Right.
You know, for students next semester, I can just post this, and this should help you now in doing the other problems, because you're going to have quite a bit of Excel problems coming up.
Wonderful. Okay. Okay. Great. Thank you so much for your time. I will, now that I can plug in the Excel portion of the assignments, I'll get those in right away.
Okay. All right. No problem.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your patience.
And please send me this so I can kind of work with it. And
I will post it. I'll post it for the whole class.
Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow now. Every Wednesday.
And everybody will benefit from it.
Yes.
All right. Okay, then. Have a nice day.
You too. Thank you so much.
All right.